Okay, so we're back to Mishlei 22:9, and it actually worked out that we had a little break because some meforshim learn 9 connected to 8, but we're gonna learn it on its own and just have 8 hovering in the background. Okay, so like I've already kind of forgotten what we said for 8, so I think that's good. Okay, so I put 8 up there in gray in case like someone wants to like let it seep in, but I'm not going to. Okay. Tov ayin hu yivorach kinasam milachmo ladal. Okay, good eyes does not mean eyesight. This is just a common. So okay, how would you, if you didn't see Saudi going, how would you translate tov ayin?
Good eyesight.
Okay, fine. If you knew it was an idiom.
Yeah. I think like a generous assessment.
Okay, generous assessment. That's interesting. What do you mean by assessment?
Assessment is not exactly the right word. Like I think that's it. Like this is the example for when measuring something, like erring on the side of giving more.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Seeing things for as they are.
Okay, that's so. This is the thing with idioms, right? Is that like you can have the same phrase and then in one culture means one thing, one means another. But I wonder if like, look, so you'll see, Sadigon says it means one who is generous, right? But it's possible, like, why would they put that in terms of ayin, in terms of eyesight? Like what is there an equivalent idiom in English for someone who's generous that has to do with like body parts, or it doesn't not necessarily has to do with body parts? Because what I'm trying to point out is like it's possible that what you're saying is connected to the idea. Like, why would they put it in terms of eyesight? You know, all right. So we can ask that as a question when we do that.
Well, the evil eye is jealousy. Right.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, actually, no. There's 2 things. There's ayin hara and then there's ayin ra'a, and those are 2 different things. So ayin hara is jealousy. Ayin ra'a is stinginess. So I think the opposite of this is stinginess. They might be related, but I'm saying like those are 2 different terms.
I heard a comedian say that he puts like his father told him to put something in his car.
Oh yeah,
because of the evil eye.
Yeah, it's a prevalent superstition. Yeah. Okay, so how are we translating the rest of this? One who is generous, hu yivorach.
He is blessed.
Yeah, he is blessed. Ki nasan milachmo ladal.
Because he gives from his bread to. I don't remember exactly how we translate dal, but poor.
To the poor, right? Yeah. So yeah, all right, we'll get into that when we ask it. Okay. So one is poor. The way the Malbim translates it, and I'm remembering this because we just had this in a couple of pasukim ago. The difference between Rush and Dal is Rush is poor. Dal is someone who became poor. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll just say, or one who, or impoverished actually. Impoverished captures the idea that he became poor. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Sadigon we don't need. We did that already. Targum is man de tabahu aine, someone whose eye is good. Hui nisbarach is blessed. Mitul diahev min lachme miskana, because he gives from his bread to the poor. I think that's just a literal translation. All right, art scroll. One with a good eye will be blessed, for he has given of his bread to the poor. Okay, that's pretty much the same as ours. Living not a generous man is blessed, for he gives from his bread to the poor. And then Alter says the generous one, he shall be blessed, for he gave of his bread to the wretched. Now, I don't know if there's like an archaic use of wretched, which means poor specifically, or if wretched, if he's using it because it encompasses more than just monetary poverty, you know. And I also don't know if we, like, there's certain terms for poor that we do use for like being, you know, sick or being, well, we say it in halal, mikimi me afardal miash postlurim yarim evion lehoshivi in the which sounds like dal might be like someone with low social hierarchy ranking, you know. So let's just say, and I think the word comes from low, right? Because to lower a bucket is called a dali because you lower it into the well. Let me just click on the guy. Where are we? Next one. Let's just see what it says for dal. Okay. Low, weak, poor, thin. Yeah, there you go. Lots of examples. Okay, yeah. All right. So it could be what did I say here? Low. Yeah, all right, that's good. Okay. So we already kind of said several questions.
Yeah, interesting thing that from Alter, which he said he shall be blessed.
Yeah. So I also was not sure about Yivorach, what the subtleties of that are. I think it does mean he will be blessed, right? Actually, I think it does. Yeah. Because it's not. Yeah, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with alter though, because he will be blessed. And I'm not gonna use the word shall because no one uses that in speech. Okay. All right. Questions and problems. So what do we have? So I feel like we've raised stuff so far.
What is a doll?
What is a doll?
What is not a tovayin?
Yeah. What does tovayin mean?
Blessed in what way?
Let someone else try.
No, I like this. Both questions. Shotgun questions. Whatever.
Yeah. What's
How long
the
can you go?
opposite of this pasuk?
Okay. What? Hold on here. What is the opposite of this pasuk? Right. So this, by the way, not to prejudice you, but I think this might be one of the areas that brings in, or the questions that brings in the previous pasuk, because the previous pasuk was about. Wait, no, maybe it was the previous pasuk. What was the previous one? Okay, so Ashir Barashi Miyam Shol of Eved Loveth Ishmavet. Yeah, so that was about a rich person ruling over the poor, and I think we learned that as either good or bad. So 8, though, is definitely bad. One who sows iniquity, what we say, one who sows injustice will reap trouble, sorrow, wickedness, or nothingness, and the staff of his wrath will dissipate or break. And then, so that is a candidate for the opposite, or we have to infer the opposite on our own. Yeah.
I mean, like the second half of the pasuk seems meaning like because he gives from his bread to the poor,
Yeah.
therefore he'll be blessed.
Right.
I mean, it seems like it's like limiting to that specific type of generosity.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the cause and effect relationship between this bracha and this specific type of generosity? Right. It doesn't say because he gives his money to the poor, which is if I said generosity, money is the first thing you think of, I think, right?
Yeah, money, your time,
right, right. But bread is a little weird, which we might as well ask also. What exactly does ki nasan milachmo ladal mean? For example, I can think of two meanings of that, just on a simple level, just 2 ways to read. Like practically speaking, what is the guy doing?
Either he has like his lunch,
yeah,
and he puts half of it on the plate.
Right, that's one.
The other is he's giving from his sustenance.
Yeah, right. In other words, is this guy? I'll read this out. Is he? I think this is what you're saying. Is he diminishing his own portion, or is he merely giving from his supply of sustenance? Is that what you meant? Yeah. I mean, that's what you said. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing another meaning.
And another question I have is in terms of tzedakah specifically, right? Like, is this can you see him giving the bread? Or see him or like, because we know like another level is where he doesn't know about that.
Right.
I'm inclined to suggest that he does see him in this pasuk, but I'm just wondering, even if he doesn't see him, like, will he still be blessed in the Mishlei realm?
Okay. Are there other, like, let's say qualifications to this act? I'm going to put that just in a broad way. Yeah. Okay. What else? I'm going to add the question I extracted from Oren's answer, which is, why is this quality called to this generosity called tovayin? And I'm going to add to this. Is this supposed to be hyphenated? I guess it is. Oh, they work best with a hyphen. Okay, now it works so much better. All right. What would be the case of a generous person who doesn't give of his bread to the poor, right? Like, I assume that's a good thing. Also, does he not get blessing?
And another question is what's the I mean, what's the difference between someone who became poor and just like?
Yeah. So let's just ask that here. So if it describes someone who became poor, rude. No, I'm just kidding. Why does that matter? Yeah. What were you gonna say, Isaac, earlier?
When you said will be the case of a generous person who doesn't give his bread to the poor.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that the pasuk implies that possibility because it's saying he's the Tov Ayin. It seems like it's a feature of the Tov Ayin that he is giving from his bread to the poor.
That's one way to read it. The other way to read it is like Ariel was saying, that the Tov Ayin is blessed when he gives from his bread to the poor, which implies that when he doesn't give his bread from his bread to the poor, then he's not. Yeah. Now I'm convinced about your other questions. I'll add it, which is I'm going to even make this its own thing. Does the do the two people have to interact in order for this to be true? The only reason why I didn't list it before is because the way that you introduced it, and I'm not criticizing it, I'm just explaining why I didn't think of it, is you kind of put it in terms of like, in Hilchos Tzedakah, there are different levels of like, giving with their knowledge, without their knowledge. It felt like it was the question was coming from the outside, but now I'm thinking that like, if part of the bracha comes from the fact that he's encountering someone who is poor, like, and having that experience, right, then maybe a guy who like, makes a donation on PayPal, is not.
But yeah, we usually want the reason why I was asking is because my premise is it's still subject to change.
Yeah.
Is, like a bracha has like I like to say that the bracha is like within the natural realm.
Yeah.
So like if you see, and like the best way to see that bracha is if people. Like naturally, like the easiest way to get there is if people see your action and they'll just do it for you.
Right.
But if someone gives tzedakah privately, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Right. How does it? Where is the natural consequence?
Right.
So is it hashgacha, whatever?
Yeah.
So that's where I was really coming from.
Yeah. So let's also say, how does this bracha come about? Yeah. Okay. I feel like we got the main questions here.
And the classic audience question.
Oh yeah. Who is the audience of this pasuk? Oh, and you want another question? I would ask here. No, I should ask this as a separate question here. How, like, frequently does a person need to give in this way in order to receive this bracha? Like, if this is something you do once, does that give you a certain measure of bracha? And if you, is the difference, is it like a sliding scale, or is it that like, no, you have to be defined as a person who is doing this on a regular basis? And if you do it once, that's nice, but that's not going to make you get this bracha. Yeah.
So this might be straying into like an interpretation.
Yeah.
But it's the certain types of phenomena where doing it for an ulterior motive, like it being like blessed, or like self-defeating, and that it wouldn't apply. So I guess my question is, is it like, does he need to have like pure motives when he's donating, or
okay, yeah. So I'm going to put that into question number one, which is, do his motives matter? Right.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Yeah.
In terms of your question about how frequently.
Yeah. There might be a better way to ask that, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just does he nasan malachma with all mean he gives, or he gives?
So when Isaac translated it as gives, I was going to switch it to gave, because that's literally what it means. But there is a thing in Mishlei where it will not quite as loosely as in Tehillim, where you can like totally ignore tenses, but in Mishlei, like it will describe like present or habitual actions in different tenses, So, but you are correct to point out that literally, it does mean gave. So we'll add that. Yeah.
Are we ready for?
I'm ready. Are we ready? Okay.
We're ready.
Start off with Ruth.
Ooh, I was also thinking about Ruth. I was actually thinking about Elimelech, but yeah, go ahead.
So well, Elimelech is the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to stick with like the and I'm trying to figure out if it, who shows where can we see the best chesed? Is it from Rus or is it from Boaz specifically?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really unsure, but I'm gonna stick with, I think they're both good, but like Rus is easy, like her chesed, right?
Yeah.
For Naomi, her mother-in-law, kind of like led her to have a descendant, the governor.
Yeah.
Also Boaz, definitely helped Rus out with his generosity, to make sure that all the he would let extra barley or wheat or whatever at the time would fall off, and she would pick it up. So like people see that, people recognize that. Like he's like it's not just once in a while. Like that's like it's his nature to do that.
Yeah.
And the bracha could be like people respect him, people like him more.
Yeah.
They want to be with him more, work with him, blah blah.
So one interesting thing, by the way, which is which this is not a critique of your idea, but just something that's interesting, is Rus is about chesed. Is this chesed or tzedakah?
I think it's more chesed.
Yeah. What makes you think that? I can see both arguments.
How are you defining chesed?
So basic definition is I will go to the source, which is the Rambam.
Yeah.
What would the difference be?
I'm about to explain.
That's right.
That's fine. It's just taking a long time.
Yeah,
And the Morning Mishlei. This is Mahadurat Internet, which is internet editions of things, and this is the only place you can get the Kathach Morning Mishlei. Yeah, I need to ask your dad about this. That I think it would be very beneficial for me to give a like Torah research tools tutorial, on how to do research and what things are available. Because I feel like I'm the only one who like uses like lots of different tools. Like I feel like this guy knows about that and that guy knows about that. And the question is like, is that the type of thing that'd be appropriate for a Sunday shiur or not? Because it's not Torah, but it gives you access to Torah. And there are people who would not like be interested if I did it like at an evening or something like that. I don't know.
I'm totally interested in that.
Okay, yeah.
I need that.
I think if there's like a doc of like every single link.
So there are those, but there's also like tips for like let's say like I show you that, like for example, there's different editions of things of even the same translation, or there's like I remember like the first time I was taught on, if you're searching on Bar Ilan for a word, Rabbi Zucker told me that the rookie mistake is to not put grammatical prefixes and suffixes as a separate like entry thing. So like what it would do is it just wouldn't show you if it said like, let's say I was looking for the word like ashir, it would only give you ashir but not ha-ashir. It's like you just don't get the search results. That it's like these little tips and tricks. Yeah. Okay. So wait, we're going to the end here. This is so slow. Oh, okay. Chesed, mishpat, tzedakah. Okay, so he says, Kvar bi'arna b'perush avos. We have explained in the commentary on avos. Ki chesed inyana hahaflaga be'ezei davar shehuflag bo. So it's excess in anything that there is excess in. Okay, just excess is what the word chesed. So the way he does this in the Morning Mishlei is he in the end is he takes the literal meaning of the word, then how it's used in Tanakh, then how it applies to God. Okay, so he says so it means access, but shimusho b'haflaga b'maseh tov yoser. But its use in Tanakh is doing excess good. And then he breaks it down into two categories. This type of beneficence of doing good is divided into two, or has two categories. One is to give benefit to someone who has no claim upon you at all. And the second one is to give to someone who has a claim upon you in a greater measure than you owe them, right? So let's say like, you are, let's say you have, I don't know, a slave. Okay, and actually, it gets complicated with halachas of slavery. Like you,
like paying back a loan after Shemitah.
Okay, there might be also complications there. Let's say let's say I owe you a favor, right? And so one way that would be chesed is if I do a favor in return, but a much, much greater favor than you did for me. The other one is if I do this favor for you when there was no prior interaction, like I didn't owe you anything and I just did this out of favor. Okay, so that's chesed. He says also, the majority of the usages in Tanakh is when you do good for someone who does not have any claim on you at all. Okay, fine. We're not going to talk about metaphysics right now. And then tzedakah, of all milas, tzedakah, he nixers mean tzedek. Tzedakah comes from righteousness. I don't know. In Arabic, that's giving someone what they have a claim on. And to give every existing thing that which is befitting for its existence. Okay, so the first one would be like if I borrow $100 from you and then me paying it back, that's tzedakah because I owe him $100. Or if I water a plant or feed an animal or like clothe the naked, that is something that is providing an existence, with what is befitting for their existence.
So yeah. I would change it to tzedakah.
Okay, yeah. And but here's the thing though. You could argue that it's tzedakah because why would you change it to tzedakah?
Well, let me change it again. Personally, I think it could be either one.
Yeah.
I think tzedakah is definitely like a starting point, but you could do more than just what you have to do.
Right.
People will still see it. Like
right.
The result is people will still see it.
Okay, so can we make just a clear distinction about how we would interpret this as tzedakah and how we would interpret it as chesed? What's the argument for saying it's tzedakah?
So the argument for tzedakah is someone's poor.
Yeah.
Someone's hungry. Like
yeah.
You give them money. I mean, you give them.
Exactly right. Someone has a need, right? Food is a need, and you provide them with their need. That is what do you call? That's tzedakah, right? Yeah.
But this kind of gets into question number 5.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So what would be an argument that's chesed?
That he's giving from his own portion.
Yeah. Exactly, right? In other words, maybe tzedakah just requires that you give this person food. It doesn't necessarily have to be from your own portion. And if we interpret milachmo as from his own portion, maybe that's going beyond the letter of the law.
Also, if dal isn't financial, but it's something else, then it might just be offensive.
That's also true, right? Let's say someone, all right, this is a good example, right? Like, let's say this person has food, right? But the fact that you're sharing with them, let's say like they're in a bad like emotional state or whatever, and you give you cook something for them or whatever, then that might be chesed. That's a good point. Yeah, Ezra.
Tzedakah, in terms it's what's fitting for them. Does that mean like even if they don't deserve it, like I don't know, like how are we defining it exactly?
So the Rambam says it in the most abstract terms possible. To give any existence of the existing beings in accordance with that which is befitting for him. Now he also throws a monkey wrench into this, which I don't know if I should go into, but I'll read it anyway, just so I'm not like doing Gnevas Das of like making you think that I gave you the Rambam Shita when I really didn't. So if I asked you without reading the Rambam, and maybe so if you know the answer to this, then don't say no. Actually, that's really whatever. If you know for sure what the trick answer is, then don't say it. Okay. When I give a hungry person food, what makes that tzedakah according to the Rambam's definition?
He needs it.
He needs it, right? That's what you would think, right? Okay. But here's what the Rambam actually says. He says, okay.
I'm gonna get the answer.
Yeah. So he says like this. Aval hazuchiyus hamutalos alecha. No, I skipped this. Okay, actually, I'm gonna skip that part. Aval hazuchiyus hamutalos alecha lezulascha mitad midos hatovos. Okay, when you act, he says the rights or obligations or claims that are upon you from someone else by way of good midos, could go lekomim kol kosha, like raising up someone who's fallen. Harzo nikras tzedakah, that's called tzedakah. Why? Hold on. Is this? The right trans. Oh yeah, here we go. Lefikach amar b'hachzaras hamashkon ulcha tiyeh tzedakah. Therefore, if you return a poor person's like security, like let's say the poor person borrows from you and says, "I'll give you my garment as a what do you call it, collateral, right?"
Yeah.
And then so you have to give it to him at night because he doesn't have anything to sleep on, right? He says, "Ki b'lechtcha b'derech hamidos." Oh, ki b'lechtcha b'derech hamidos hanalos. When you follow the path of good midos, kvar asisa tzedek im hanefesh ha'hagyonis shelcha. You're doing tzedek to your rational soul. Because you gave it what it deserves. So in other words, when I give food to the poor, yeah, I know, right? So when I give here's how I would say it. When I give food to the poor, okay, the result is tzedakah because of what the poor guy got what he needed. But my act of tzedakah is tzedakah because I'm acting in line with my rational soul. Okay, this is I don't know if it's a machlokus or if it was historically a machlokus between Rabbi Moskowitz and Mishlei Moskowitz about whether justice is something that could be proven in the soul, like whether it's an idea in the soul or not. I believe the last position of Mishlei was that it is an idea that's in the soul, which means you don't need God in order to have an objective system of justice. I happen to hold like that because of Mortimer Adler explaining Aristotle, that there is an idea of justice rooted in the natural needs of creatures, and I think that's the basis of like the philosophy called natural law, not laws of nature, but like natural law. I've heard rumors that Rebbe disagrees with this, and I know where to find the answer to the rumors. I've just never made it through the series, which is Ethics of Abraham, which is like a 13 tape series. You know, I've tried it so many times, but then the problem is like you like take, there's a lull and I can't remember what was said in the last 5 shiurim, you know? Yeah. So I think this is a machlokas. So I hold, again, if that's what Rebbe holds, like, you know, find that out by yourself. I hold based on Adler and Aristotle and this Rambam that like every human being is intrinsically the same, right? You have differences in particulars, but your essence is the same. You know, you're both at Tzelem Elokim. So like, why logically should I deserve, you know, food and you not deserve food? So when I act in accordance with that with that recognition of the equality of human beings, I'm acting in line with my rational soul, and that's what makes it tzedakah. It's just a really interesting definition that what defines it is when you give to someone else, you're doing tzedakah to yourself. It's true you're doing tzedakah to them, but what makes it a ma'aseh tzedakah is you're doing it to your soul. Yeah.
I have an approach.
Okay, hold on. Was there any questions on this point here? I forgot how we got here.
I think I asked how specifically you're using tzedakah in terms of.
Oh yeah, right. But there was a more localized question that made me go back and say that I didn't want to do Gnevas Das. Anyone remember?
I think it had to do with, I think you just wanted to get into it because of the idea of like,
You were talking about whether in this case was tzedakah or chesed.
Or chesed, right? Yeah. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah. So you want to go back to the pasuk? Yeah.
Wait, can we just finish the thought like in terms of Ellie Malach now? Just the opposite.
What?
Oh, I didn't realize.
Are we finished with the approach?
I didn't realize that. Okay. Well. Okay. Hold on a second. So yeah, you were saying an approach, and now you're going on the side that this is tzedakah. Yeah. Okay. So then what would you say your idea again? I lost the thread.
Yeah. The idea, the simple idea is that when you do tzedakah, you know, people will see it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I think they have to interact. Or at the very least, like people have to know about it.
Right.
The rumors, right? And you know, people will want to help you if you need the help.
Right.
Or, you know.
So the thing that's, to me, that's a good idea in general about how tzedakah will result in bracha. Okay, that part's true. The part that I feel like I need from the pasuk more is ki nasan milachmo ladal. Like I feel like you could get that whole idea just from the first half of the pasuk. So it's not specific enough, in my opinion. Yeah. Or you had an approach?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking what you were saying about the whole justice thing before you had said it, but
Yeah.
probably because you've said it to me in the
Yeah. We've definitely talked about this in the past. Yeah.
So I think this definitely is tzedakah, and also I don't really like the one who is generous translation. I'm going to keep more with tov ayin, one who sees things for as they are.
Okay.
Because seeing things for as they are is what leads to tzedakah.
Okay, that's
Because
true. Yeah.
you have that recognition that, like, you know,
This is not the human being.
yeah, like this is what everyone is supposed to have, and
Right.
so this is what I need to give.
Yeah.
So someone who has that recognition is going to naturally do tzedakah
Yeah.
because it's tzedek. It's just what
Yeah.
you got to do.
Yeah.
And then I think the blessing, that's really the hard part. I think it might just be like just like in all halacha or most of halacha, where when you do something, the idea gets more fully implanted in your head. It's
Yeah.
the same idea. Where when you, I mean, it's like a feedback loop. Like
Yeah.
it's like a cycle.
Yeah.
Like you have this idea, and then it causes you to do tzedakah, and
Yeah.
then it reinforces the idea.
Yeah. Okay. So that is, let me just articulate what you said to make sure I understand, and then I'll ask a question on it, and then I'll go to David. But this is a separate approach, or it's on comment on this? Okay. Yeah. All right. So you're next in line. So unlike Ariel was saying the bracha comes from outside. You're saying the bracha comes from inside, right? And I think those are both good approaches. According to you, Ariel, then it would need to be seen by others, right? If no one knew about it, then they're not going to treat you differently because of your generosity, right? But according to Oren, all that matters is what's going on inside the person himself.
Yeah.
Now, my two questions on that are, number one, I want to understand a little bit better how the mechanism works. Like there definitely is a thing in general, mitzvah gereres mitzvah, and like schar mitzvah mitzvah, that when you do these good actions, then it reinforces it in a positive feedback loop. I want to understand if we could see the specific positive feedback loop, the way you're explaining tov ayin, like how does looking at people as human beings that are all the same, that have needs, how does that lead to bracha, and what, how does that lead to bracha? And then I also have the same question on you as I had on Ariel, which is, what is the second half teaching us? Ki nasan milach moladal. Like, again, according to you, sounds like you could just get the whole idea from the first half.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So you can think about those. We'll go to David now.
Okay.
Throw this on the pile.
Definitely
Yeah.
has some similarities in a roat hanolad type of read.
Yeah.
But I think particularly the tov ayin and then the action that he's doing here, kinat milach moladal.
Yeah.
So someone who is roat hanolad and he does see things outside of himself, and particularly one who is like good of eye or favorable or generous, that he also has some inner workings of not just knowing, right? Roat hanolad, I think, has like what's going to happen in the future. If I do this, then this will be the consequence. This is someone who has also worked to be willing to say like part with his bread or other things like that. And that does for you a lot more than just being able to see consequences. And then if there's say nothing that's within yourself contradicting going ahead and doing a smart decision, then great, you're going to do a smart decision. But someone who's tov ayin is someone who has been able to work on himself and part with different things that will be difficult, and then say give his bread or say like his food to things that are like very direct and something that he would want for himself, and do the also possibly like very difficult thing of giving to a doll or someone who's like not like a fun, happy, easy to give food type of person.
Okay. So what do you call it? So you are answering the question that I was asking on them, which is what is the second half doing to the first half? And you're saying it's giving a measure, basically, right? That there is a certain type of generosity that would not bring you so far as to give from your own food or to interact with a doll or whatever it is. And if a person does have that level where he is able even to do this, then he gets the bracha. So now I just want to go and let's define it a little bit clearer, which is I want to understand what differentiates those two people. The person who is generous but doesn't give from his food to the doll, and the person who does. Yeah. And then what bracha does that result? The question that they focus on, I'm not hearing how you're answering it. Okay. So I don't know if you're thinking along one of their lines, or we need to figure out what it is according to you. Yeah. All right.
I don't know if this is what I was saying, because I was thinking about
how convenient. Yeah.
But look, I'll give it the credit.
Okay.
Okay, I think maybe you can say that like there's a difference between what you set aside for tzedakah and like and what you don't, that's yours, which you give away. Yeah. Right. I think like the access is normal to give away. I mean that's what you should do. You should give it away, and there's nothing really. It's not a chiddush. It's like it's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But the chiddush is like this is mine right now, and like this is what's left over to me and my family, whatever, and like I'm breaking away from it. I'm disassociating from what's mine, and giving it to yours.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually what Boaz did. He put out extra. It wasn't even necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Is that what you're saying?
I was also thinking about the question.
Yeah. So,
just it's similar to Ariel and really what everyone was saying.
Yeah.
And just define,
guys, listen.
No one's listening to each other.
Yeah.
Just defining the difference between someone who's generous but isn't giving from his own bread and somebody who is. I think, as you were saying before, somebody who is generous but isn't really giving from his own bread, that isn't actually generous. If he really recognizes like the good and how really he doesn't deserve this, and if this person is deserving of it and he's another human, then he should get it. Then he would give from his own, just like from someone else's. So I think it needs to put that there to point out that like it's not just he's willing to give when he has extra from like his pile, but even like his own thing, if it's just, he's going to give from his own bread.
Okay, so I think this helps Oren the most out of it. At least the way I'm seeing it. It definitely helps Oren, maybe it helps you guys also. But so if you are willing to part with your own bread, and I think this also works better if we assume that you're diminishing your portion, right? Because the thing is like this, okay, if you have, let's say a sandwich, okay, the sandwich is an easy example because sandwiches are easy to cut in half, okay, right? So I have my sandwich that I brought for lunch, okay? This other poor person doesn't have anything to eat, right? So Shlomo Mel comes up and says, why don't you give half your sandwich to this poor guy? So what would be the form of objection that the psyche brings up? But it's my sandwich, right? Yeah, exactly, right? So that is but then the voice of reason tells you, but like, are you saying that you deserve nourishment more than this guy? Like, no. And do you have the ability to provide nourishment to this guy? Of course you do. So like, what makes this? Yeah, you happen to have legal ownership over the sandwich, but in terms of like everyone deserves nourishment, and you have the ability to provide it. So why not give it? Now, if you do that, what happens? So this is where I'm going to go with the reinforcing thing. Or I don't know when you said like it reinforces it, I don't know what element you were focusing on, but I'm going to focus on it reinforces the reality of human equality, which makes you, because you could have said it reinforces, like there is such a thing as habits. There's a great book called Atomic Habits, if you want to get, but there's such a thing as habits that get reinforced with practice, That's not what I think this is, based on our interpretation. It's that you're reinforcing the reality of human equality, and then it becomes easier to see people through the lens of Ayin Tova, of like, okay, these are just other human beings. You basically see everything as like, it's not that Tselem Elohim is a brain. You see like everyone just in outline form, just these brains walking around, and then like with a meter showing like how many needs that they have, and like, oh, this one doesn't have enough needs to like make the brain light up. So I gotta like establish that. Yeah.
With what you're saying, the thought of Tov Ayin versus say someone who's Roa Hanoah, that type of thing. Tov Ayin does seem to have, it's an interesting Lashon to me, and it does seem to have certain connotations of like that being generous, where it doesn't be a person who has like he's able to actually he's broken through whatever it takes to see other people like that, which I don't think is like a simple easy thing. So I think particularly that's the type of
that's also good. That is good.
That's someone who knows, like I could know just as abstractly, right? Intellect can tell me where,
right? But you're not seeing it, right? Yeah. Okay. So do we have a full idea now? Yeah.
I think I do. I hope.
Okay. I think we do too.
Yeah. So I'll just represent the entire thing. So it's Tovain, which is just like exactly what it is. I don't know about generous. It's just one who sees things as they are. That's right. Tovain is. They see everyone as just having Tselem Elohim and being fundamentally the same as them, and everyone's the same as each other in that sense, etc., etc. And so because of that, they naturally will do tzedakah. They will do tzedakah because that's just what's the just thing to do. So the second half of the pasuk is though then that caused them to be blessed, but the reason why is because they did the action that caused them to be blessed. It's not just like having that mindset which caused you to be blessed, but it's because you give the bread that causes you to be blessed. Because the way I'm thinking of it is that when you give the bread, that it's like a cognitive dissonance sort of thing, if you know how that works in psychology, where like you do something and then you think back, it's like, oh, well, why did I do that? And then it gives you some sort of idea. So it's like you give the bread and that reinforces the idea that you're holding in your head that all people are fundamentally equal. So, and then that causes you to want to give more bread, but then also do other things elsewhere.
Okay, good. Well said. And I'm just going to add one more thing to show that this is a good approach, which is the actual bracha. What would be, okay, bracha, do you know what the literal definition of bracha is?
No.
So it's tosefes tova, which means additional good. Okay. So what type of good is a person getting from this according to the Oren's approach?
It's psychological good?
No.
Greater clarity.
Yeah. You're getting good in terms of your actual rational soul. So the way this works out is it's not psychological.
It's philosophical.
Philosophical. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Metaphysical. Yeah. Yeah. But, what do you call it? So this is, I like this because this is true bracha, right? Like it's nice that there's other brachos like getting people helping you in a time of need and everything. And I'm not saying that those are illegitimate interpretations. This does work out that it's true bracha. You gain actual clarity, and I like the way you put it. You can only get this if you actually enact it. If it's just an abstract idea in your head, like if it's abstract idea in your head which is not moving you to act, then you don't have the idea. Right. And when you act on the idea, it reinforces the actual reality.
Can I just add another point?
Yeah.
Like, I think, and this could be like a chiddush within like this type of tzedakah versus normal tzedakah.
Yeah.
Like this tzedakah is like it's like you're actively disassociating from your own personal objects.
Yeah.
Versus normal tzedakah is where you it's normal. It's a very normal thing to give away 10% of my or whatever. It's just normal. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
People don't even think about this.
Yeah. Right. This has to involve a depletion of mine.
Yeah.
Like you have to hit up against this is mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Ezra?
Yeah, it could be this is way too broad of a question, but could it be that like does somebody need to act upon this to really have the true idea? Like let's say is it possible someone was never in the situation to do this, but just fully understands this idea why it would be good to do this and then have the idea? Yeah,
the question is what would happen if you were in this situation? And if you were in the situation and he wouldn't do it, then right. So I mean that's the idea of not to give a whole like thing, but that's like the idea, the Ramban's idea of what a nisayon is, of a test or a trial, that it means that the way he puts it, I believe, is that let's say Abraham doing the Akedah, right? Is that there are potentialities that you have that unless you're in a certain specific scenario, then the potentiality will not be actualized. And the way the Ramban puts it is that God will put the tzaddik in that situation to actualize that potential so that he can reward him for it, But now what I think he means for rewarding him for it is maybe I'm answering it differently than I started off, which is that I think it's that person who hasn't gotten a chance to do it. Like there's two ways to view it. The person who doesn't have a chance to do it is exactly the same as the person who does have the chance to do it. It's just the only difference is one guy did it and the other guy didn't.
So he doesn't know maybe.
Right, he doesn't know, right. The other way to view it is that there is a perfection that comes about from the actual enactment of it, that the guy who hasn't enacted it can't get.
So what is that?
So what is that? That's good. That's a good question. See, okay, I'm gonna go and say it's like this, which is that we are a psychological being too, as Ariel's Chiddush pointed out. We have a psyche. You can't impact your psyche unless you do it in its own terms. So, like, in other words, there's going to be a certain, we should think about it a little bit more. That's what I'm going to say for now.
Can I add one?
Yeah, you can add thing, and then Isaac, and then we'll.
I just want to add to 8 and kind of like what's the take home message.
Oh yeah, we didn't answer that. Yeah.
Is that it's not. The message isn't
people who own sandwiches.
Isn't to somebody who's Tovayan already.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's to somebody who either isn't Tovayan or is like approaching Tovayan or who wants to be Tovayan.
Yeah.
And so basically, this is like showing you a feedback loop. And once you understand this, you can try to enter it.
And it's very easy because and that's the thing. This answers Isaac's question also, which is the rote action of splitting your sandwich gets you into the feedback loop.
Yeah.
It's not going to make you Tov Ayin instantaneously, but it's going to get you into that feedback loop and start to develop it. So like actively looking for opportunities to do this, as opposed. So I feel like when people do tzedakah, they often will reverse it, where they will wait. They'll be like, if I feel like I'm on the level to do it, then I'll enact the level. But this is saying how no, the way you get to the level is you enact it, and then that affects you. The basic right. Roughly enough 101.
I'm not sure what you're saying about people being like waiting till they're on the level. People
are like, I'm not the kind of person who does this kind of tzedakah and then they don't do it. As opposed to saying, if I did this action, I would become the person who does this kind of tzedakah. Yeah. Okay, let's come back to this tomorrow because we didn't do meforshim. This is a good, very, very productive pasuk. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.